Number 1. Run. I was home for the summer from college, and my mother and brother had just headed out for a day trip to visit some colleges of their own. This meant I was to take care of my father. Something was clearly wrong with him, but we couldn't tell what. He had Parkinson's, but it was more than that. But we figured I could handle him. This is when I came to realize something in his mind had broken and hated me with a passion. He wouldn't listen to anything I said. Now, I admit, I was pissed off, so I wasn't doing a terrific job, but even simple things like getting him food was an hour-long ordeal that ended with us shouting. This last time, I called Mum on the house phone because at least he'd listen to her. I gave him one phone and I was on the other, yelling at each other through it, even though we were 5 feet apart. Poor Mum trying to referee from a few hundred miles away. Finally, Dad hangs up his phone and hands it to me. Oh, he's done, thank God, I think. But then he tries to take the still active phone from my hand, which I refuse. And that's when it happened. It gives me chills to this day. A change came over him. It was subtle, but he stood slightly straighter. It was like for a moment someone else was in his body. He stared at me, and in the most calm, cold voice I have ever heard, he said, "I'm going to kill you." There was no emotion behind it. There was no energy. He said it as fact. I was stunned. Mum heard it over the phone. As I stood there, paralysed, her voice broke through in a whisper. "Run!" I threw the phone at Dad, rounded the corner, and grabbed my keys. My car screamed out of the driveway. It was pure animal instinct for me at that point. I had to run, because if I stayed there, Dad didn't really remember what happened. He was confused as to why I was suddenly gone. I have no idea what went on in his head in that moment, but I stared into something back there. Number 2. I'm right here. It was in the early afternoon of Halloween. This is a rough time of year for me, because my first child was stillborn near this day. I was sitting in a chair in the den. My husband was at the desk on the opposite side of the room. My 2.5-year-old daughter was moving around the room, not really doing anything. As always happens on this day, my thoughts turned to my stillborn daughter. Suddenly, my daughter plops a book onto my lap. Remember, she is 2, can't read yet. The walls of my room were pretty much wall-to-wall books. The book she gave me was given to me after the stillborn. It was a pagan book for grieving parents. Startled at the coincidence, I just kind of stared at the book. My daughter flipped open the book and pointed imperiously to a paragraph. I obeyed and read the paragraph. It was talking about how a child who dies might reincarnate back into the same family, or somewhere nearby. So I wondered where my child might have reincarnated. my daughter patted my leg and said, "I'm right here." Up until those words, she had said nothing out loud. It gives me chills every time I remember it. Number 3. Pantoufles. My best friend growing up lived across the street from me, and her father is a complete psycho. He was always buying the kids new pets: rabbits, dogs, iguanas, rats, whatever they wanted, only for those pets to disappear within a few months as the family got tired with them. He was super religious and was always telling his kids crazy lies about everything, like they had rich relatives who didn't exist, or that his youngest had cancer when she didn't. He was real quiet, and whenever any of his kids had friends over, he would stand silently in the doorway the entire time, which is maybe passable as a socially awkward concern on its own, but less so in the other contexts. He was always making his daughter come home from sleepovers at like 3 in the morning. He would just walk over, knock, and ask for her. He was always complaining that his kids' friends were bad influences, or too slutty, even in grade school. One day, my dog got loose, and he drove his truck up across 3 neighbours' lawns trying to run it over, in broad daylight, with neighbours out all around. But none of that compares to the shitstorm which happened when Obama was elected president. He immediately decided that the neighbourhood would be overrun with black people, and bought a German Shepherd because he heard they didn't like black people and thought he would need it to protect the family. It has since bitten 3 people, none of them black, including myself and an 8-year-old boy, and most recently, the aging lady across the street who needed stitches afterward. But that isn't the end of it. Along with the dog, he bought a shed and several rabbits, the fluffy kind from the pet store, and he started to breed them. He said, "The economy is going to collapse and I need to feed my family." So his family were regularly eating litters of little white and black pet rabbits. He then let his youngest daughter pick one of the babies and keep it in her room and raise it. She even named it Pantoufles. She was allowed to keep it for a year or so before her father got tired of the rabbits. When he got tired of them, they were all killed and eaten, including Pantoufles. That's right. He forced his young, teenage, suburban daughter to eat her own pet.